I go, well, this is what I experience, and this is what the other people experience here, and if you have a problem with that, then that's your problem.
I know, exactly, and I'm trying to get a certain job done here, so it's, I have to live within that framework, and I think when you put everything together, your experiences, what I'm doing, and all the other, so much else that's out there, it's just a huge mystery and a vast phenomenon that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That has so many different aspects and dimensions to it that can fascinate us forever.
Oh yeah, they say that old saying, "Pioneers take the most arrows,"
Yeah. So I am just I have the greatest respect for what you're doing. I really do, and I think there will come a time when I'm going to try to learn more about it at that level.
Yeah, there's what I found out in the UFO community, and it's very sad, but there's a lot of competition and backstabbing, and it's just unbelievable that each group has a piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And they think that's the only piece of the pie, and they attack anybody else outside of that pie or that might have a different piece of the pie. And at the International UFO Congress, it was probably my last time talking there, I talked about that, and I said, if we don't learn to cooperate and work together, it doesn't matter what the disinformation people are saying, and we take ourselves out. Like, why give them so much fuel? I said, why don't we all just drop the ego, drop the nonsense, put everything out on the table, take a look at the big pie, the whole pie, and realize that, there are nuts and bolts, there are abductions, there are grays and low-level contacts, but there's also this incredible other thing going on where there's observers and extremely benevolent and ancient ancestors returning, which all the scriptures talk about and all the Native American lore, and almost every indigenous culture has their Star Nation story, So,
mm-hmm.
So let's look at the whole pie here and cooperate, and then we'll have the big picture. But I was pretty much excused after that, and that was the last time I spoke at the conference.
Yeah, and I think it's true. I mean, it's not just the infighting, but I think also the other problem is that so many groups will present information that really shouldn't be presented. I mean, there's so much gullibility and kind of chaos in terms of how one presents the UFO subject and what one considers to be authentic and not. It's just to me that's a big issue as well. It's not just the egotism and the infighting, which I just don't get involved with because I keep myself outside of the UFO community entirely. But
that's a good
I think, there has to be real discrimination about what information one accepts and focuses on and works with. And, all these types that come out of the woodwork with all kinds of dubious mm-hmm. purposes and intents with these wild stories, and all these people jump on it and give them, put them out in the, I don't know, it's just such a mess. I mean, I think one of the functions of my book for people, even for people who, like you, or to lesser degrees perhaps, have a very expanded kind of more spiritual approach to this, is that if you want to convince somebody, like your relative or your coworker or somebody in your life, that there is something to this subject matter, I think this book is a very handy tool for that process because it sort of starts with square one, and I think people can use it to kind of make those skeptical types say, oh yeah, maybe there's something to this, and from there they can move on to other aspects of it. But you have to start someplace, and I think you have to start with the very basic stuff. When you're talking about trying to convince people, not through their own experiences, but through knowledge, through other people's material, I think I would hope that people, would avail themselves of this book for that purpose. It's just the perfect thing to hand somebody and say, well, check this out. If you want to see what this issue's all about, and you want to see if there's anything going on or not, check out this information. Mm-hmm. And it's a starting point for people to be forced, really, as you say, it's irrefutable.
Oh,
to
I agree.
recognize it. And then it's like a key that can open up their minds to wanting to explore more. But I think it's a really good starting point.
Oh, I agree 100%. I mean, I would actually love to buy a case of your books and hand them out to a few friends of mine.
Yeah, well, it's very cheap. It's just for people to know. It's on Amazon now. It's only $15.
Oh, great.
And it's
That's
a $26 hardcover book with, a glossy insert with photographs and lots of drawings. And it's a beautiful-looking book. So that's a really, really good deal for those of you who may want to buy a few copies to give away. I think this is a good time to do it. They tend to fluctuate the price on Amazon. I don't know what it's based on, but the last time I looked, it was only $15, which is pretty reasonable.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I know General Corso, wrote his book, and then between that book and your book, there's a couple others out there. It's just pretty undeniable, that this is a reality, and the top officials coming forward speaking about this. This is the base foundation of you can no longer deny that this is real, that it is going on. And it is important, like you're saying, for people to start and get a foundation for this before they go further, because there are a lot of people out there that are making some pretty wild claims, but they don't have anything to back it up. And I always ask them, well, if you are in contact with these beings, where's your footage? Do you have any photographs, any videos, any witnesses to back up this, what's going on? And I'm not denying you're not having a telepathic experience or a spiritual experience. But, if it would be good, for people to say, hey, if I'm going to go forward with this information, then I want some physical proof, and the higher beings will provide that. And
I'm so glad you take that approach, James, because as a journalist, that's the frustration. I mean, as you say, when people tell me these things, I'm not going to deny the validity of them, but I can't work with something that's just somebody's story.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got to have, and I know it's like the issue with photographs. We were saying you don't necessarily want to be focused on trying to take a photograph. You don't necessarily want to be focused on trying to document something. And fortunately, you're in a position where it happens so frequently that you've been able to do that with the technology and repeated use of cameras and everything. I guess a lot of people don't have that experience of repeatedness, but nonetheless, the point is so important that journalists, people that are trying to bring information forward and affect policy or affect consciousness or whatever, can't really use the material if it's not documented in some way. Because
I agree.
And it's a very difficult thing, and I think that it's important for people to realize that they're not being disrespected. It's just that it can't be used because that's the criteria that are out there, especially when you're trying to deal with the status quo, which don't accept that this thing even exists at all.
Oh, yeah.
You've got to be able to back it up. So I commend you for doing that, and, you're fortunately in a position to be able to do it, as I said, which is one of the unique things.
We'll have to send you some of this footage. When Robert Soros was here, we had quite a few things fly overhead that were pretty bizarre that actually responded to us and flashed back and lit up. But he saw this object moving all over the mountain, and he was looking at it. He goes, that thing is massive, and it's moving all over the mountain. And he said, this is, he goes, I have no idea what this is. And it was a bright greenish gold light or white light moving all over the place. And, a few days later, we actually got in a plane, and I need to show him this footage, and we photographed or filmed where this thing was on the mountain. And you can see this object, whatever it is, moved over pure glaciers, which ended at sheer cliffs, which went down into massive lava boulders and moved down the mountain. And it's going from like ice to a cliff to boulders to, terrain that no vehicle could ever move on. And there are no roads up there. It's wilderness area. You can't even take a vehicle up there. It's taboo. So
that means it had to be flying, quotes. It had to be in the air, not on land.
Exactly. It had to be hovering. It wasn't a helicopter. You would have heard it.
Right.
And it was there, most of the night. It was just all over the mountain.
So the area where these things are seen in that mountain, I know you've seen them landing and so on, those are areas where they're just impossible to go and actually physically go there and check out the space because of the terrain?
You can hike up there. It's really hard to even hike up there.
Right.
But the upper areas, no, you would have to rappel down ice walls and cliffs.
Wow.
And if you're ever trying to cross a lava field, you'll go so far and there'll be a huge crevasse and giant boulders, and it's really hard to even walk up there, let alone, any kind of a vehicle.
So you have to go up with a helicopter if you want to look at the landscape.
Pretty much. We took a small plane and filmed the whole area, and it's, and these objects are going up and down all over the mountain, and then they morph into 3 back to 1 again, and then take off, and we've had jets chase them, everything. We have so much footage that, shows our own military trying to engage them, but it's just it's undeniable when you look at the footage, and you can hear all the witnesses. So you have multiple witnesses. You have a camera that doesn't have an imagination. It's not going to lie to you.
Right.
And then you have, and you go up and film what this object did. You go, we don't have anything like that, especially something that can morph into 3 and back to 1 again, and then, just vanish, disappear. So I know we do have some toys. We've been back engineering these things for quite some time, but nothing, I had triple PhD Boeing engineers and Skunk Works people here that actually went and testified on record on Coast to Coast and said that, that with Art Bell, and they said, Art, these objects we saw are not ours. And they said, we know what we have, and they said what we saw is outside the box. These are definitely not ours. So when you have people of that quality, that saw these events and testify, it's pretty much a done deal.
Very interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's still.
But you're not going to be at the this next upcoming Congress?
No. I've been kind of censored out of there. It's amazing. Even though I have this kind of evidence and everything else, it's apparently not good enough for them or something.
Hopefully it isn't censorship. Maybe there's, who knows what reasons.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while. It's like
there are new owners now, for the conference.
Yeah, there might be a good shot at coming in again, but we had a little headbutting there for a little while, and some statements were made, and I just said, did anybody, like one guy wrote an article about my talk and got everything wrong and said I presented no evidence whatsoever, and I go, did you even come to my talk?
Wow.
And it was one of the members on the board who is, a CFR card-carrying member, so.
Huh. I don't know if they have the same board or not. I just know that the conference has been bought by another group now called Open Minds.
I heard, and I haven't really been invited, and I don't know if I even want to be honest with you. I don't. I'm kind of gearing down on that. But
I don't blame you. I generally don't go to these conferences either, so.
Yeah. I'd rather do the radio shows and just continue to have the experiences and document it here and continue with the movies and the other information. It reaches a lot more people, and I'm really not here to argue or be in an adversarial position. I'm here to share something for people that really want to know.
Yep, I understand that.
So we've got a few minutes left. I wanted to probably get into a couple more of your stories, and before we go off the air, I also want to, is the best way to get your book through Amazon?
Yeah, I would suggest that, but I would like to give out my website for people, which is www.ufosontherecord.com.
Okay.
And, the title of the book is UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. So it's sort of an abbreviation of the title, ufosontherecord.com. And right on that home page, there is a button you can click to get right to the Amazon page for the book.
Okay, great.
And, of course, there's other booksellers, too, but, I think that I would recommend that people get it that way. It's certainly cheaper than buying it in a bookstore. As I said, $15, and I just, I think Amazon works really well. You get it quickly, and so that's one easy way to do it is just go on ufosontherecord.com, and we also have a lot of other information on the website with bios and photographs of the contributors, and we have a blog with lots of the postings of the media